What's going on, guys? I'm the Walrus Jedi, and welcome to every Star Wars project released in July. This will only be expanded universe stories and the main 6 movies. So if you like these kinds of videos, then please consider liking and subscribing and hitting the notification bell for more. Without further ado, let's get to it. July 1st, Dark Apprentice by Kevin J. Anderson in 1994. This is the second book in the Jedi Academy trilogy. Kip Duran becomes a member of Luke's Jedi Praxium, but falls to the allure of Exar Kun. Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, edited by Kevin J. Anderson in 1995. This anthology contains 16 short stories by various authors about some of the patrons of Chalmun's Spaceport Cantina on Tatooine. River of Chaos, number 2. Written by Louise Simonson and illustrated by June Brigman and Roy Richardson in 1995, continues the tale of Princess Leia on her mission to Mihali, an Agra world in the expansion region. X-Wing Rogue Squadron number 1, written by Michael A. Stackpole and Mike Barron, and art by Alan Nunes and Andy Mushinski in 1995. Wedge Antilles and Rogue Squadron must rescue a downed man on Kilpar, a world that dislikes the Empire but hates the Alliance. Shadows of the Empire number 3, written by John Wagner and art by Killian Plunkett and P. Craig Russell in 1996. Luke is attacked by a gang of Jabba's swoop bikers on Tatooine. Jedi Knights Delusions of Grandeur by Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Musta. In 1997, the titular Young Jedi Knights continued to search for Raynar Thul's father, and they turn to a reprogrammed IG-88 for help. Star Wars Handbook number 1, X-Wing Rogue Squadron, written by Pete Janes and art by Various in 1998, containing info on characters, ships, planets, and other things pertaining to the X-Wing Rogue Squadron comic book series. New Jedi Order Force Heretic 3 Reunion by Sean Williams and Shane Dix in 2003. The Jedi finally find Zonama Sakat. While they attempt to get the planet to come back with them, the Yuzon Vong launch an attack at the heart of the new alliance. July 2nd, Republic 55, written by W. Hayden Blackman and art by Brian Ching and Victor Lamas in 2003. Obi-Wan and Anakin are transferred to Jabim, where the fighting is fierce and the locals have sided with the Separatists. The two Jedi face an uphill battle in this issue. Empire number 9, written by Paul Chadwick and art by Douglas Wheatley and Tomas Guerrero in Snowcone Studios in 2003. Biggs Darklighter is a newly commissioned Imperial officer on the frigate Randacliptic. He gets a glimpse firsthand of the Empire's ways. Biggs and some of his friends plan to desert and join the rebellion. July 3rd, Star Wars 43, written by John Ostrander, art by Jan DeSerma and Ray Crissing in 2002. Quinlan Voss and Ayla Secura prepare to advance, Voss to master and Secura to knight. They end up solving a kidnapping plot. Star Wars The Hunt for Aura Singh trade paperback, written by Timothy Truman and art by David Fabry and Christian Dalla Vecchia in 2002. Collects issues 28 to 31 of Star Wars Republic. Aura Singh must be stopped as she is killing Jedi. Some Jedi volunteer to take her out, but do they seek justice or vengeance? July 5th, Return of the Jedi number 1, written by Archie Goodwin and art by Al Williamson and Carlos Garzon. Vader arrives on the Death Star while Luke tries to rescue Han Solo. July 6th, X-Wing Iron Fist by Aaron Alston in 1998. Wraith Squadron has survived their first mission. Now they go after Warlord Zinj and his fearsome superstar destroyer, the Iron Fist. Hard Merchandise by K.W. Jeter in 1999. The final installment in the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy. Boba Fett gains evidence that Prince Xizor was involved with the murder of Owen and Beru Lars, but what does Fett decide to do with it? July 7th, Episode 1 Qui-Gon Jinn, written by Ryder Wynnum, art by Robert Teranishi and Christopher Chuckery in 1999. Considered a maverick by most of his fellow Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn must prove himself to his peers and to his greatest critic, his Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Vacation, a short story published in the developer blog for Star Wars The Old Republic in 2015 about Nico Okar, a human smuggler captain. July 8th, a letter from Special Executive Rasmus Bliss in 2013, which is the letter from a boss of the CZ-198 of the Zerka Corporation. July 9th, Star Wars Clone Wars Volume 1, The Defense of Kamino, written by various artists and art by various, in 2003. Collects Republic 49 and 50 and Jedi Mace Windu. The Jedi discover a separatist plot to destroy Kamino's cloning facilities. July 10th, Star Wars Infinities, The Empire Strikes Back #1, written by David Land and art by Davide Fabri and Christian Dalla Vecchia in 2002. What if Han never rescued Luke from the Wampa? What if Boba Fett arrived earlier to Cloud City and cut a deal with Lando? What if Vader discovered rebel information in C-3PO? July 11th, Legacy 14, written by John Ostrander and Jan Duursema, art by Jan Duursema and Dan Parsons in 2007. Cade has come to Coruscant to atone for his actions in turning over Master Hosk to the Sith. Rebellion number 8, written by Brandon Badeau and Rob Williams, art by Michael Lacombe. An Imperial secret is hidden on Ahakista, and Vader goes to protect it. A group of rebels discover the secret, and they try to exploit it. July 12th, Star Wars 1977 #4, written by Roy Thomas and art by Howard Chaykin and Steve Leialoha in 1997. Part of the comic adaptation of the movie. Obi-Wan fights Darth Vader. Legacy 2, by John Ostrander and Jan Duursema. Art by Jan Duursema and Dan Parsons. Bounty hunters capture Naxi Skrieger. Darth Talon earns her name, and Princess Maricea is the target for a kidnapping. July 13th, Star Wars 77 #64, written by David Michelini and Michael Fleischer, and art by Joe Brzezowski and Vince Coletta in 1982. Leia learns of King Sasha entering talks to join the Empire. Luke, Cinda, Verheil, and Beryl are sent to recon the situation. Star Wars Tales 24, written by Various and art by Various in 2005, has the stories Marked, Fett Club, Unseen, Unheard, and Nomad, Chapter 4. July 14th, Empire 22, written by Wells Hartley, and art by Adrian Mello and Michael David Thomas in 2004. Han and Chewie and Dean Ashan on the Millennium Falcon respond to a distress signal, and they find tragic remains of the Clone Wars. July 15th, Knights of the Old Republic released on Xbox in 2003. Follow the story of Revan. July 16th, Star Wars 77, issue 100, written by Mary Jo Duffy and art by Cynthia Martin, Kurt Nichols, and Sam De La Rosa in 1985. The Nagai invade Alliance headquarters on Endor. Leia has to face them alone as Han and Luke were unavailable. Star Wars, A Long Time Ago, Volume 7, Far, Far Away, by Digital Chameleon in 2003. The 7th volume of a collection of out-of-print Star Wars stories. Contains Star Wars 77, issues 96 to 107. Then Work with Pride, Work with Zerka, a SWTOR, Star Wars The Old Republic in 2013. A blog post about the Zerka Corporation on the developer blog for Star Wars The Old Republic. July 17th, Star Wars 77, issue 88, written by Mary Jo Duffy and art by Bob McLeod and Tom Palmer in 1984. Leia and Mon Mothma are on a diplomatic mission, but they have to deal with the Imperials. July 18th, Dark Times 4, written by Wells Hartley and Mick Harrison, art by Douglas Wheatley and Michael Heisler in 2007. Das Jenner helps his friend Bomo Greenbark, but that brings Jenner closer to dark deeds. Since KOTOR, Manon. What's happened on Manon since Knights of the Old Republic in 2014? Another blog post from SWTOR. July 19th, Star Wars 77, issue 76, written by Mary Jo Duffy and art by Ron Frenz and Tom Palmer. in 1983. Lando is trapped in the citadel of Gamander, and he needs R2-D2's help to get out. Rebellion 4, written by Rob Williams and art by Brandon Badeau and Michael Heisler in 2006. Luke faces a squadron of stormtroopers and tries to bring a boyhood friend over to the rebellion. July 20th, Star Wars Clone Wars Volume 6, On the Fields of Battle. Written by John Ostrander, art by Jan Duursema and Dan Parsons in 2005. Collects Republic issues 65 to 71. Republic issue 7, written by John Ostrander and Jan Duursema. Art by Jan Duursema and Dan Parsons in 2005. Quinlan Voss struggles with the dark side. Empire 33, written by Thomas Andrews and art by Adriana Mello and Michael David Thomas in 2005. On Jabim, Luke has to deal with his father's actions on Jabim during the Clone Wars. July 21st, Star Wars 77, issue 52, written by David Michelini and art by Walt Simonson and Tom Palmer. In 1981, Luke, Leia, Chewie, and the droids infiltrate the superweapon Tarkin to sabotage it, but Darth Vader is arranging a confrontation with his son. The Essential Guide to Planets and Moons by Daniel Wallace in 1998 contains info on several planets in the Star Wars universe. Star Wars Handbook No. 2, Crimson Empire, written by Michael D. Hansen and art by various artists in 1999. The Tale of Kur Kanos, Imperial Red Guard, and his mission to keep Emperor Palpatine's memory pure. Jedi Yoda, written by Jeremy Barlow, art by Boone in 2004. Yoda must lead a clone army. July 22nd, Star Wars 77, issue 40, written by Archie Goodwin and art by Al Williamson and Carlos Garzon in 1980. Part of the comic adaptation of Empire Strikes Back, Luke recovers from the Wampa attack, and Vader and the Empire arrive and attack Echo Base. Tales of the Jedi Redemption No. 1, written by Kevin J. Anderson and art by Chris Gossett in 1998. A decade after the Great Sith War, Ulic Qel-Droma has isolated himself trying to hide from his evil deeds. July 23rd, Battle of the Bounty Hunters, written by Ryder Wyndham, and art by Christopher Muller and P. Craig Russell in 1996. The space battle between Boba Fett and IG-88 while Fett was taking Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. Tales of the Jedi The Fallen of the Sith Empire No. 2, written by Kevin J. Anderson and art by Dario Carrasco Jr., Mark G. Heika, Bill Black, and David Jacob Beckett in 1997. The trial of Jory Daragon for crimes against Empress Teta's government. But the Sith plot against the Empress, and Jory can't help if found guilty. Empire 10, written by Paul Chadwick and art by Tomas Guerriello, and Snowcone Studios in 2003. General Dodonna has to tango with Imperials who were trained with his own tactics. Legacy 26, written by John Ostrander and art by Jan Duursema and Dan Parsons in 2008. Cade must stop Darth Krayt, but he can't do it alone. Knights of the Old Republic 31, written by John Jackson Miller and art by Alan Robinson and Michael Heisler in 2008. Zane Carrick continues to try to clear his name. July 24th, Star Wars 77, issue 28, written by Archie Goodwin, art by Carmine Infantino and Gene Day in 1979. Jabba the Hutt wants his payment from Han and Chewie, and he'll use deadly force to get it. July 25th, Star Wars 77, issue 16, written by Archie Goodwin, art by Walt Simonson and Bob Wiacek in 1978. Baylor Valence mistakes another for Luke Skywalker. Star Wars 1998, issue 38, written by John Ostrander and art by Jan Duursema and Kay Crissing in 2001. Quinlan Voss goes to Kifix, a prison planet, and investigates. Knights of the Old Republic, issue number 18, written by John Jackson Miller and art by Harvey Tolibao and Michael Heisler in 2007. Camper's secret is revealed with dire consequences. Star Wars 30th Anniversary Collection Volume 6, written by John Ostrander and Wells Hartley, art by Jan Duursema and Doug Wheatley in 2007. Collects Republic 79 to 83 and Star Wars Purge, July 26th. Star Wars 98, issue 20, written by John Ostrander, art by Jan Duursema and Rick Magyar in 2000. Quinlan Voss searches for his past and Vil reluctantly helps. Dark Nest 1, The Joiner King, by Troy Denning in 2005. Begins the Dark Nest trilogy, has the Killiks as the antagonists. Star Wars Clone Wars Volume 9, Endgame, written by John Ostrander and Wells Hartley, art by Jan Duursema and Douglas Wheatley in 2006, collects Republic 79 to 83 and Star Wars Purge. Knights of the Old Republic 7, written by John Jackson Miller, art by Dustin Weaver and Michael Heisler in 2006. The Mandalorians have invaded Vanquo. Zane Carrick and his friends are outsmarted by the Mandalorians. Star Wars The Clone Wars novelization by Karen Travis in 2008. A novelization of the Clone Wars movie. Star Wars 98, number 8, written by Timothy Truman and art by Mike Leonardi and Mark Lipka in 1999. Ki-Adi-Mundi returns to Tatooine to search for a wayward Jedi. July 28th. Episode 1, Queen Amidala, written by Mark Schultz and art by Galen Shulman and P. Craig Russell in 1999. This tells the story of an adventure with Padme and Jar Jar Binks between scenes on Tatooine. Brothers, a story following brothers Arkin and Thexan during their invasion of the core worlds from Star Wars The Old Republic. July 29th. The Last Command, number 6, written by Mike Barron, art by Edvin Bivkovic and Eric Shanower in 1998. The final issue of the comic adaptation of Timothy Zahn's The Last Command. CZ-198 and the State of Zerka Corporation in Star Wars The Old Republic. It's another blog post for SWOTOR. July 30th. Dark Force Rising number 3, written by Mike Barron, art Terry Dodson and Kevin Nolan in 1997. Issue 3 of the comic adaptation of Dark Force Rising by Timothy Zahn. Rebellion 15, written by Rob Williams, art by Dustin Weaver and Michael Heisler in 2008. Part of the Vector crossover with other Star Wars Dark Horse titles. July 31st. Tales of the Jedi, The Golden Age of the Sith, number 0, written by Kevin J. Anderson, art by Chris Gassett. Tales of Odan-Ur, a Jedi historian, and Empress Teta in 1996. New Jedi Order Edge of Victory number 2, Rebirth by Greg Keyes in 2001. More Yuuzhan Vong Destruction. Jango Fett Open Seasons number 3, written by Hayden Blackman, art by Ramon F. Bach and Raul Fernandez in 2002. Jango Fett leads Mandalorians on Galadran and are set up so they have to deal with the Jedi. Lana Beneko's journal, Darth Arceus, from Star Wars The Old Republic developer blog. Alright, that is all of projects that released in July. It is possible that I missed one or two, so if I missed anything, feel free to let me know in the comments. Let me know if you learned anything new. Let me know your thoughts on this video in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and until next time, thanks for watching.